All right, so I have a sincere belief that there are habits that keep people poor, and that anybody, regardless of where they're born, what their circumstance is, if they do the right things over a long enough time period, they can get out of it. We are living in horrendously uncertain times.
Yeah.
What are the things, the habits that keep people poor?
Wow. Well, the first one really has to do with understanding money, because unless you understand what money is, none of the other habits really matter, because at its core, what is money? And the money that we call money today is currency. It's really just pieces of paper. So our paper dollars can be manipulated and controlled by other entities such as the Federal Reserve Bank and the government. And when you understand that, it's going to change what you do with the money. Well, what wealthy people do is they're not storing cash, they're buying assets. It is something that gives you equity. And at the broadest form, an asset is something that puts money in your pocket. A liability is something that takes money away from your pocket. What's an example of an asset? This could be owning a business, investing in stocks, investing in real estate, anything that you buy for the purpose of making money. This concept of equity, you have to understand this, because wealthy people are working for equity. They're not just working for a salary. And so what you want to do now is you want to understand, okay, I'm working every day to get paid. Now, what are you doing with the salary? Either you can take the salary and go out and spend all of it, or you can take some of the salary now and work to build equity. Maybe that's in stocks. Maybe that's in real estate. Maybe that's in your own company.
So if I buy stocks, I'm buying equity.
You're building equity. You're literally buying ownership in companies. If you go out and buy a share of, say, McDonald's, you become one of the owners of the McDonald's company. And now when the McDonald's valuation goes up, you get to share in that, because the price of your stock, the value of your stock goes up. What can we do differently? And instead of just spending all of this money, and it's much more difficult now because of the higher cost of living, but it's so much more important now than ever, where you got to create this margin. I call it like an equation where, you know, your wealth is really, you take your income minus your expenses, and that's equal to your investments plus your savings. So you take your income, whatever money you make, you subtract your expenses, your houses, your home, your clothes, your car, whatever your expenses are. And if you have some money left, either this money is going to be saved or it's going to be invested. Well, if you have some money left, you're already, doing something that a lot of people are not doing. You're more than the majority of people. Right now, I just read a study yesterday. 7 out of 10 Americans across the board are living paycheck to paycheck. 50% of Americans that are making $250,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. It's not how much money you make, it's what you do with the money you make that is so important. And so now, if you have a buffer, you're already better than the majority of people. Now the question is, what do you do with it? Well, we're taught, save it. Save all of it. So your investments are zero, and your savings, you're trying to grow that, thinking that you're gonna become wealthy. But you're never gonna be able to outsave inflation. And your savings are becoming less valuable each and every day. Your savings are literally making you poorer each and every day. However, you don't want to just not save any money. You got to be strategic with it. What I like to say is there are 3 reasons why you should be saving money. You save money for an emergency, have somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses, depending on your risk tolerance. Save money for a big purchase. You want to buy a car, you want to buy a house, you need some cash to do that. Save money for an investment. If you're not saving money for one of these 3 reasons, you are saving your money the wrong way, and it's making you poorer each and every day.
Now, you didn't say save for retirement.
You invest for retirement. You talk about retirement, we're about to face a big retirement crisis, because traditionally retirement was what people like to call a 3-legged stool. You had your Social Security, you had your pension, and then you had your own investments or your savings, what a lot of people like to do. Well, pensions are something you only read in history books anymore. They're a thing of the past. So those don't exist anymore. And so, so you had the pension that's essentially gone for the vast majority of people. Social Security is not going to be able to fund your retirement, which leaves people with the 3rd stool, which is your own investments. Now, traditionally, you say, I'll save some money, save 10% of your income. Your savings are not going to do it. This is where you have to go out and invest yourself. And that's where, how do I do that? We're never taught how to do this. We're never told how to do this. We're never given direction on how to do this. So you have to be the one now to go out of your way to start learning this. And thank YouTube, because now we've decentralized education. But the question is now, you have to be willing to do it, and you have to understand who your teachers are. Because there's crap on YouTube. There's also good stuff on YouTube. And we're never taught how to learn. We're usually just taught what to learn. So now we have to be willing and go out of our way to become smarter, to start learning and understand how do we learn the right things and then apply it. Because the downfall with investing is it's risky. You got to be willing to get punched in the face. You have to be willing to lose money because it's a part of the process, and it sucks. It sucks losing money. It's your real life tuition. You got to be willing to learn, and you know, it's a price to pay. And it's one of those things where, you know, just like with entrepreneurship, everybody wants to be successful as an entrepreneur. Everybody wants to be rich. How many people are going to be willing to get punched in the throat and keep going, keep getting back up and keep doing it? It's very difficult, which is why, you know what? Not everybody should be an entrepreneur. Try it, but it's not for everybody. But everybody can work to own this equity, right? This ownership, these assets, and everybody needs to. Because now businesses can borrow money for effectively nothing. You borrow money for 3, 4, 5%, and now you can borrow hundreds of millions of dollars to grow the company. And if you can grow your company by 6%, you just made a profit off of the free debt. And inflation now is a hidden tax. It's a silent tax. It affects the people who don't understand money, and it disproportionately affects the poor and the financially uneducated. And this is why financial education is so important, is because if you don't understand this, you are going to get screwed over by the system. Because now, guess what? Your gas is going to be more expensive. Your groceries are going to be more expensive. Your home cost is going to be more expensive. The cost to do anything is going to cost you so much more today, next year, the year after that. While your salary, hey, you got a raise, but you're actually broker now than you were before the raise because your raise isn't keeping up with inflation. And so now corporations become wealthier because of asset prices go up. And what does this do? The reason why it makes rich people richer and poor people poorer is because not only is your cost of living higher, and now if you're wealthy and you understand this and you're buying these assets and you've been buying them, now you're seeing the real gains, and you start to see this divide between the rich and the poor. And this is where inflation disproportionately hurts the financially uneducated and the poor, and disproportionately benefits the wealthy, and that's why the middle class gets wiped out. And so it's how you start and you learn, and each one of the things that you kind of do, you're going to learn something new, and you're going to be able to apply that to the next thing. And it really is that shift. You know, I call it the minority mindset, thinking differently than the majority of people, because it's doing something different. Most of us are taught just to be consumers.
Yep, we're taught trade time for money, go buy cool things to flex.
Exactly, and that's it. We're never taught to do anything else. And I mean, think about the last time your teachers taught you about the importance of investing your money.
They don't know how to do it either.
Exactly.
They couldn't hope to teach me.
And so that's where you have to be willing to go out of your way to learn how some of these things work, because if you don't, you're just going to be a pawn in the system. And it's very unfortunate. It sucks. And the crazy thing is, none of us are taught this.